Best advice you've received in real estate?
Best advice I've ever received in real estate is pick a path and stay there long enough until it works.
Tell me more.
I have been fortunate. I've sold 650 homes in the past 11 years, 100% by referral. Never done an open house or cold call or made a door knock or bought a lead ever. But I'm not from here. I only had 40 people in my database and just was encouraged. Look, it'll work if you just keep going. And so I just kept going, and I believed in their belief, and it paid off.
Unreal. Amazing. Worst advice you've received in real estate?
Oh, so many things, right, DJ? Worst advice I've received was actually from a coach in that same vein. Is I had sold 50 houses my second year in the industry. I hired this coach and said, "Look, I don't want to sell more. I just want to go home." And at the end of the first call, TJ, she said, "All right, here's your homework." She knew I'd never done any of these things. She said, "Here's your homework. You need to go cold call 300 people this week and door knock 150 doors. And that's your homework." And I said, "I'm not going to do that." She said, "Garrett, you're not going to succeed then." And I was thinking, like, I mean, I feel like I'm succeeding. I'm in the top 1%, in this market. And so we get on the phone the next week, DJ. She's like, "Did you do your homework?" "No, I told you I wasn't going to do my homework." It's like, "Garrett, you're not going to succeed. You need to cold call 300, door knock 150. Anyways, that was the worst advice I'd ever received, right? Is you need to look like everyone else to win.
Yeah.
Totally untrue. That was the worst advice. And thankfully I ignored it. But that was the worst advice I think I've ever been given.
To thine own self be true, they say, right?
Yes,
It's
that's right. That's right.
I love that. Garrett Maroon is our guest today. Let me tell you more about Garrett, and this is going to be a really, really amazing conversation. Garrett's real estate story started really small, as he said. He had just 40 names in a database, which is like basically nothing. And as a vision, he was fueled by the relationships over leads. Again, fast forwarding 11 years, now he's closed over 650 homes, as he said, in his second year, 50 closings, unreal. But again, 100% by relationships. That's just unreal. He's the founder of 210 Realty Group, which is a top 1% team in Southeast Virginia. And Garrett brings more than expertise. He leads with authenticity, heart, and a deep commitment to serving both clients and his team with excellence. But real estate really is just the beginning. Garrett co-founded the 210 Collective at eXp Realty, where faith and business meet in powerful ways. He also launched The Faithful Agent, which is a nonprofit and vibrant community for gospel-centered agents who want to grow not just their business, but their walk with Christ. And every week on the Faithful Agent podcast, Garrett shares talk and real strategy to help agents thrive at work without burning out at home. And in his book, The Balanced Breakthrough, his message is very clear. You don't have to choose between success and your soul. You can win at work without losing at life. And so what's Garrett's superpower? He is helping agents make more money by staying true to who they are and also doing what they love at home. Garrett's world is full of laughter and life with his wife, Rachel. They have 5 amazing kids. He's deeply involved in his church, always ready with a dad joke, grounded in the belief that true success is built on relationships, faith, family, and business in that order. Garrett is our guest today. GarrettMaroon.com is where you find him. He has a new book coming out probably by the time you listen to this called The Balanced Breakthrough, and it is going to be a huge success like his last book. So check it out. You can go to GarrettMaroon.com, and it's Maroon, just like it sounds. We'll have a link to that. Garrett with 2 R's and 2 T's. We'll have a link in the show notes, but go there, pre-order the book. You get the audio download for free. And we're going to talk all about the book today as well. Garrett, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, DJ. I was sitting there thinking, my assistant wrote a really nice introduction for me.
Hey.
So thank you for reading that. And thank you, Shaylee, for writing that. I'm honored, man. I'm honored to be here.
Authenticity is something that just I can feel it on you, and I can tell, and probably our audience already can feel that as well from you. And you are really somebody who is just willing to say, this is me, this is what I'm into, this is what I believe. And you can integrate some of those passions, which, aren't necessarily real estate related, but combining them, your faith and just other things that you do, and, doing nonprofits. And just, it's really impressive that you were able to build this brand. And I don't even want to say brand, because that probably cheapens the idea of it, saying it that way, but it's really who you are. And I just think, what a cool, authentic business you must run. But I want to go all the way back to the beginning because I want to hear how you started with
Sure.
40 names and really not much not much hope, I would think,
Mhm.
at that point. But I mean, well, at least when
Yep.
you first started thinking like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
But you did it. Second year, 50 deals. So why real estate? How'd you get in?
Yeah, so I got in because my wife told me to do it, right? I try to listen to my
You're
wife
a
as
good
often as
soldier.
I
You do
can.
what you're
Thank
told.
you. Right, that's right. And so, man, DJ, I was assistant director of admission at the university here,
Uh-huh.
and I was making 42 grand a year. My wife and I were married, didn't have kids at the time, but the goal was for her to come home when we had kids. Thinking I
Mhm.
can't do that on 42,000, so I was looking at other jobs, right? A standard W-2. My parents are amazing, and that's what they taught me, right? You kind of work a job for 30 years, that's what we do. And my wife came along and said, I think you'd be really good at real estate. So, my parents tried to talk me out of it. A lot of friends tried to talk me out of it, but I just honestly I trusted my wife. I think there's seasons where you got to borrow other people's belief, and that's what I did. So I borrowed her belief that I could do it.
Love that.
But we also agreed that if I didn't sell at home in 3 months, I'd quit, right?
Wow.
We had
The
no
pressure
concept,
is
right?
on.
Oh, no concept. Well, 3 months comes and goes, haven't sold a house. And I remember the conversation that night at dinner, and I'm telling her, I think, I didn't know. I think I can figure this out. Can I have another 3 months? And we agreed, thankfully. And so at 5.5 months, finally made a sale. And honestly, the rest it really started to grow pretty rapidly. I had no idea that I was building underground, right? The root system was growing. I didn't know that because I didn't know what I didn't know. But
Sure.
then I started to see that effectiveness. So, yeah, it was the belief of my wife who said, I think you'd be good at it. It was the need to make more than $42,000 a year. And I just went for it. It was literally what happened. I had no idea if I was going to be good. Didn't think that I was an entrepreneur until a year and a half in. I still was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to survive and not fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really interesting beginning. It definitely was, but I'm thankful for all the, experiences I had and the fact that I'm still here and it continued to grow.
Yeah, they say necessity is the mother of invention, right? You
Mm,
just figure it out when you have
yep.
to. And when you have someone to support and someone that you committed to and you're part of the deal and you
Mhm.
gotta pay in just like she's paying in and
That's right.
giving her the opportunity to when you have kids to not have to go out there.
Mhm.
And that's it. Yeah, you people are it's amazing what people can do and you don't even have to know if you can. You just have to
Mm.
be almost in a situation where you have to do it.
Yep.
And it's like, you'll probably figure it out.
You're
And
right.
I
I mean, 100%. Yeah, I'm sorry, DJ.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that the way I describe business now, right, is you walk into a pitch black room and they shut the door behind you, and there's one light switch, right? That's it. Just one light switch you got to find. There's furniture and all kinds of stuff in that room. You're going to bump into it. You're going to get hurt. There's going to be all those things. But if you stay in that room long enough, you'll find the switch. I mean, there is no
Yeah,
other option. If you're just
right.
there long enough, you'll find it. And so again, these are things I didn't understand at the time, but because we said, what about another 3 months? It gave me time to find the light switch. If I had given up, I never would have found it, would have assumed that's not the room for me. I'm going to quit. And who knows what would have happened, right? The ripple effect of just the continuing to look for that switch changed my entire life, right? It's going to change my kids' lives. So that's I'm so passionate about, especially newer agents. It's hard. It's going to be hard. It's still hard for me now. But the reality is, if you just stay long enough, you'll find the switch. And so the only question is, are you going to give up? And if you're unwilling to give up, you'll find it and you'll figure it out and it'll change everything.
I I couldn't say it better myself. I agree 120%. It is absolutely the truth. And really, it's all about just putting the blinders on and not looking for the results right away. And in
Mhm.
fact, probably not looking for the results at all and just going,
Mhm.
smarter people than me have done this, or even dumber people than me have done
Yeah.
this. And so it's like, I just have to follow the path that's pretty well been, trodden before. And it's not
Yeah.
like you're forging a brand new thing that nobody's ever done and you're not sure. Oh no, millions of people have done it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like just this, I just have to trust that it's all going to work out
Mm.
and hard work pays off. And especially in this career, it really does. and it's one of the most fair industries I know.
Mm,
And because it really, there is a positive correlation between the amount of work you put in and the results you get. But
mm,
you have to be willing to wait for those seeds to germinate, like you said, and you're not going to see what's happening under the soil, and
mhm.
it's going to feel like failure for a long time.
It
And
does.
but that's how everything is, isn't it? Like
Right.
every time I go to the gym and I do, well, today I had to do these really difficult push-ups. And
Mm,
every time I do them, it's not like there's any part of me that's like, this is easy, this is great, this is fun.
mm,
Like it all is awful and
mhm,
painful and it hurts. But it's like it's kind of supposed to, and
mm,
that's the point of it. And it's
mm.
like that's the only way the muscles get stronger is
You're
you
right.
have to
True.
break them apart. You literally rip them apart. And in order to do that, you got to be willing to sort of go, I'm going to like be standing in the pathway of pain.
Mm,
And that's kind of how it is for most things that are worthwhile, maybe everything
mm,
that's worthwhile. It's like you
mm.
got to just put the energy and time into it and trust that like this is good for me. It
Yeah.
will work out.
Right.
And it almost, I found that in life, at least in this country, I mean, look, I can't speak for every. There's lots of places where things aren't very fair, and
Mm,
and there's a lot of unfairness here too. But there's a
sure.
lot of fairness, and you.
Yeah.
If you put your mind to it, it almost doesn't matter what your background is in this
Mm,
business. Like
mm.
you can make your way. People don't really care where you come from. They
Yeah.
just care if you care about them and you're going to do a good job
So
and
true.
you're going to meet their needs. Like that's pretty much it. And
Yeah.
I love that. It's very fair, I think, this
Mhm.
business.
It's so true. I mean, that is such a good point, right? At the end of the day, anybody, I'll give you an example, right? So for a while we had a coaching company. We were giving out the playbook, if you will, on like what to do every month to grow your business by relationships. I get a call, this a couple years ago, DJ, I get a call from this agent and she's like, "Hey, I need to cancel and it's not working for me." Hey, I totally understand. Can you tell me why? Because it's worked for a lot of agents, right? And she's like, "Well, I wasn't getting the traction, whatever, whatever." And come to find out, she finally admits, says, "Well, I actually didn't do it." And I'm like, "All right, so you don't know it didn't work. You just didn't work it, right? How are you blaming what I'm doing?" To your point, it's fair. If you do the work, you'll get the result. I don't know how fast it'll come, and
Yeah.
I don't know how big the result will be, but I do know it's going to happen because it always happens. That's the way this works. So you're right. It's very fair. Show me what you've done in the past 3 months. I'll show you what your business looks like. I love it. I've never heard anybody say it's the fairest industry. It really is, though. You're 100% right
It,
about
it,
that.
it it's certainly one of them, and it's commensurate with the amount of work. Whereas
Yeah.
other careers where you're a salaried employee, maybe it's fair, maybe it isn't. You don't have
Yep.
a ton of control maybe about that,
Right.
but it certainly this is one where there seems to be a somewhat of a level playing ground, or at least as level as it maybe could be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really neat is I go to the NAR conference. I didn't this year, but you go and you see all different kinds of people. It's like
Mhm.
people don't even look the same.
Mhm.
Everyone looks different. And you go, oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool that
Mhm.
everybody could just be themselves
Mm,
and they can figure out a pathway. And here they all
mm,
are, and they've all
mm,
made it. And it's like,
mhm.
that is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
cool.
yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your faith because I think this is such an interesting thing. I rarely talk to agents who put that front and center in their business. And I think I was talking to you about this sort of before we started, and I think what I thought was really amazing. I was really thinking about this because I was going, okay, so I live in this city where people keep things like religion and politics. You almost have to, at least here in Chicago, you have to be really careful about what you say
Mm,
because people are real judgy here. There's a lot of judgment,
mm.
and if you think differently than the norm, people get kind of weird about it. But that being said, and people are just judgy about religion and politics anyway. But
Sure.
but the point is I was thinking, do I like I'm thinking about if I was really, if I was super religious, I was thinking, okay, if I went to this thing, like for example, I play tennis. And so
Mhm.
I think about the people I play tennis with. We're all kind of similar. Like maybe we have different careers and we have different family lives and whatever, but we all kind of love tennis in the same way. And I
Mm,
was thinking, the cool part about with, putting religion that's really important to you into your business is it's such a way of life. Religion is a way of life for people. It's a
mm,
guideline for how to live and how to see the world. And what I love about it is, I would assume, and you'll tell me if this is accurate, is that you're going to attract people who have a very similar worldview and a very similar outlook on life and kind of go through the same experiences. And I think that probably creates just a lot of intimacy and a lot of like instant connection. So
Mm.
if you don't mind sharing about that, I'd
Yeah,
love to hear it.
of course. Yeah, absolutely. First, we got to get you into pickleball because that's the new thing, DJ. I was a tennis
Us
player
tennis
in
players, we
football.
do
Yeah,
not like pickleball,
I
but
was a tennis player.
I know that everybody loves pickleball. I'm not picking on you pickleball
It's
people.
the
Hey,
thing.
we're us racket sports people, we're just glad you're doing it. So please
Right.
keep doing it. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. No,
Yeah.
so no, and I appreciate the question. I mean, I think for anybody, right? I'm huge into authenticity. And so I'll describe it this way and then and certainly answer the question. But a couple of weeks ago, I was on a podcast and the gentleman beforehand said, "Hey, we know you're the Christian agent guy, like you have the faithful agent, all these things, but that's not this show. If you don't mind, just don't talk about it." And
Don't
I
be
said,
yourself.
"Well, yeah." And I said, "Look, this is your show. I respect that. But it's not a backpack that I take on and off. Like this is who I am. And
Right.
so I can't not be that. If it doesn't work for your audience, I respect that. Like I'm happy not to do this episode, right? I'm not going to offend him." And he was like, "No, no, let's do it." And we had a great conversation. But for anyone, right? They don't have to agree with what I believe. That's
Of
okay.
course.
But for anybody to say, you don't need, you're not sometimes an agent, I'm not sometimes an agent, sometimes a dad, sometimes a husband, sometimes a follower of Jesus. Like I'm all of those things all the time. And
Right.
so whenever I show up, I should show up as that. This is just who I am.
Yes.
And if anything, the easiest thing to do is show up and be me as opposed to, wait, who am I supposed to be in this moment? That's exhausting. And, I can't do that perfectly. And so for anybody, right, I want them to be encouraged, just like this is who I am. And yeah, are you going to repel some people? Sure, you will. Are you going to attract some others? Of course you will. That's great. And the people that come have already made a decision. I know who this person is and I want to work with him.
Yeah.
Fantastic, right? It's part of letting, part of your job is to be super clear about this is who I serve and this is who I don't. What I have found, DJ, though, that's interesting is when we went all in on that brand, right? And we just because that's they already knew that's who we were, right? We just made it more clear. When we went all on that brand, I have a ton of clients and past clients I might have is who don't are not Christians and they don't
Sure.
disagree, agree with that. And they're totally fine with it, right? We have a lot of people who the world would say are hardcore anti-Christian, and
Yeah.
they come because they want to get support and they know we're going to treat them fairly. And so
Right.
we'll serve anybody. Anybody deserves to be cared for and loved well. And
Yes.
so what's been interesting is it both sets a standard of service that they expect, which is good because it holds us accountable, right? And it layers, levels the playing field, excuse me, to say, this is who I am. This is how we're going to treat you. If I say we're going to pray about this deal, you're not weirded out by that because what else did you expect I was going to do? Right. And we're going to really try to show up and love you well because there's something greater going on here than just you buying a house. And so it sets the tone for what's about to happen. And it's been really freeing too, right? Again, I was never shy about it to begin with, but now it's like this is just who we are.
Yeah.
The whole thing is branded that way, right? Now I
Well,
have the Faithful Agent podcast and nonprofit for Christians in real estate. It's pretty clear, who I am, right? And who specifically I feel like I need to serve. Doesn't mean I don't want to help somebody else, but I'm just being honest about who I am. And if that's not you, it's okay. So I do want people to realize and see that in our industry, right, you're told don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion. I definitely don't think talking about politics is the greatest idea ever, right? But with your religion, if like this is who I am, I would say you should talk about it. Even
yeah.
if you disagree with me, that's okay. We should be able to have those conversations. I should be able to do a deal with someone who's like, I totally disagree with everything you stand for. That's fine. Let's do this deal together, right? I'd love to hear you out. You hear me out. That's okay. We can have a relationship. So I think if more agents were just honest about who they were, stop trying to be what the industry told them to be and started to
Yeah.
be themselves, they'd burn out less. That's definitely true, number one. And they just have a better business. Why? Because when you show up and you're authentic, you're going to show up more naturally. You're going to show up more often, and you're naturally going to want to do it better. And I think if we did that, we'd build a bigger, better business and a bigger, better life.
I think that when you have the courage to be authentic, which by the way is not easy, I think that's important.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something, and I want to then come back to this thought. But as we were talking about showing up with you, faith is one of the pillars of kind of your life, and I was thinking, we don't ask people who are gay. We don't say don't be gay while you're a real estate agent. Like
Right.
don't make
Sure.
Don't
Yeah.
make that your identity.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we encourage, it's like, of course, it's inclusion. Everybody should be who they are. And it's funny, but we do that sort of with religion, don't we? We sort of
Mm,
say like, you're gonna, and it's funny too. I think about this with politics a lot. I always try to remember that you really want about half the country thinking one way and the other half thinking the other way, because it keeps us very honest. Where
yeah,
it's like
right, that's
you
true.
want both sides going, the other side's wrong, and
Mhm,
that's good for democracy because it sort of keeps us, on the straight and narrow. But
mhm,
I love this idea of, you're right. It's like, once you figure out this is who I am, this is important to me, and I'm not going to, you're not here to proselytize. You are
mhm,
here to just say this is my identity.
mhm,
And I think you're right. It does sort of suggest a certain level of care, and also some values, and some really positive things that people associate, or
mm.
some people associate. And
Sure,
you're
yeah,
right. Maybe other people don't, and that's fine,
that's
because
fine.
there's lots of people that are going to want that. And again, it is, I think, the courage to show up as you are. While it takes courage, really tremendous courage, it ends up really rewarding you, like you said, because people see that and they go, "That's courageous." Whether they
Mm,
agree with it or not, they're like, "That's impressive," because people. A lot of us, we have the masks we put on and the things we hide and the things we go, well, this is really what I'm into, but I don't really want people to know about it.
mhm,
For whatever reason, we're afraid of judgment or shamed
mm,
or being shamed or whatever. And it's like, okay, fine. Maybe there's some things you don't share with everyone, but this idea that you can just be yourself and run a business is really pretty impressive in this industry. And I've
mm,
seen all sorts of different types of people who, I've interviewed people on the show who are like new agey and into sort of the
mm,
crystal thing, and sort
mhm,
of more like, not as traditional, sort of even, kind of wackier things, and they're tremendously successful. And
mm,
then there's, the ex-athletes who work with athletes, and
mhm,
everyone's different. And I just think it is so cool that you are willing
mm,
to do that. And I think I think it activates something in other people. It's kind of like, I've noticed this when I started volunteering like a long time ago. I just thought it was kind of the right thing to do, and I got involved and started supporting
mm,
this particular organization. And I thought, oh, it just felt like I should probably do that. And then when I wouldn't really tell people, but they would find out I did it, and they would go like, "Oh, I wish I would do that." And I go, "But
mm.
you can go do that. Like, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
not
right.
that big of a deal, really."
You sign up.
But what it would do is would activate in them this need that they're like, "Oh, I should be
Mm,
more doing that." And
mm,
so I think with your brand in particular around this, I think it's like, oh yeah, I should be more authentic. I think
mm,
you're going to get a lot of people who just are impressed by that. And I
mm.
think so.
Yeah.
Again, my hat's off to you. Let's
No, and I
talk
appreciate
about.
it.
I want to talk about the podcast, and then I want to
Sure.
talk about the book. So the
Yeah.
podcast is the Faithful Agent podcast. Tell
Mhm.
us what it is and who it's for.
Yeah. So it's for Christians in real estate, right? So it was started, DJ, 5.5 years ago as serving, not selling. So I was talking about building your business by relationships, right? Which is really my heart and all those things. The story is, so my mom passed away in October 2022 from breast cancer.
Mm,
And those next 3 months, I mean, they were really hard for me, transparently.
sure.
And it just caused me to stop and ask the Lord, right? And just pray, like, who do you want me to serve? And what
Yeah.
I realized was no one was specifically talking to Christians in real estate, right? Like no one was
Mhm.
doing it. And I went looking for it. That's how I found out. That's how I realized no one was doing it, right? It's like, I want to hear that because I need something different, right? I want the real estate. I definitely do, but I'm in this season of grieving. Like I need them to talk to my heart too. And couldn't find it. And so me and a buddy, my best friend Tyler, who was co-host of the podcast at the time, we said, all right, let's just go all in then. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. Let's just go all in. If we're looking for it, I bet there's other people looking for it. And so in January of 23, we went all in and said, we're going to do the Faithful Agent podcast. We started doing conferences. We launched the nonprofit, right? We just kind of went for it. And,
Wow.
it was amazing, DJ, because I think the way I describe it is I've raised a lot of flags in my life, right? For different businesses or other things. No one ever cared except me, right? And my wife, if I actually made money doing it. But when we raised this flag, it was amazing. This is, again, the call to authenticity. When I raised this flag, it was amazing how many people reached out. I was like, man, I was waiting for something like this. Oh gosh, I didn't know I could talk about my faith so openly. Thank you
Yeah.
for doing this. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything other than just trying to be myself. And there are so many other people, right, that are looking for a Christian real estate. There's so many other people that are looking for whatever real estate, right? That when we stay quiet, everyone else feels like they're alone. And
Yeah.
so what we realized was, I'll just be out loud, whatever. If I take flack for it, I don't really care, right? Because I'm just being myself, whatever. If you don't like me, I get it. Not everybody's going to like me. But what we didn't realize was how encouraging it was to so many, literally thousands of agents who are just, man, thank you, because this is what we need. This is what we were looking for. And no one was specifically talking to us, right? Because there's a lot of us I get what it's like being a real estate agent. So do you, right? But there's not a lot of people who get what it's like being a Christian real estate agent, right? Who understands your business and your heart. And in any scenario, again, whatever is authentic to you, there's not a lot of people who understand, real estate and struggling, whatever, with addiction, right? Whatever it is, like
Sure.
whatever's going on with you, there's other people that wish they could just hear the truth and the authentic message that you have to have and say, this is how you build a business while you're struggling with whatever, or while this is your idea. It doesn't matter. We need to go first. Someone's got to be brave enough to go first. And I promise if you do, there are so many people that will say, I'm so glad you did that. I've been waiting for someone to do X, Y, and Z. So it's been an incredible journey so far.
It's amazing. You just gave me an idea. Well, not me an idea, but this idea that the recovering agent podcast, somebody who's recovered from addiction or at least is in
Seriously.
recovery, boy, that would be, I mean, that affects like 10% of the population.
So,
Like
oh my
that
gosh.
is so many people and
Right.
nobody's talking to that person.
For real.
And that's boy, that's another, somebody
Yeah.
needs to start that podcast.
Seriously,
Um,
they do.
well,
I'm real.
because at the end of the day, like we need community. Like for
Yes.
whatever our tribe is, we need community. We're biologically hardwired for community, and we
Mhm.
need interpersonal effectiveness or interpersonal interactions. And with our phones, they take us largely away from that. And so, and that's, I'm not here to say phones are bad, but that's just kind of what the phones are designed to do. and
Mhm.
and so, okay, so we need places where people can go and congregate, be in community, and be like, these are my people. And
Yeah,
it's really, really good for us. And
it is.
that's a great call to arms.
Yeah.
Pardon the sort of military expression, but this is really a great call to action for people who are thinking like, I'm into this thing and I know other people are into it, and maybe I could create this community and we could
Yeah.
all support each other. That
And
is wonderful.
yeah, and the moms in real estate do a
Oh yeah.
phenomenal job, right, DJ? And
They
I
they
love
already they have got that, they
their
figured that out
part.
a long time
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
And
Women
and
figure
I
things out before we do.
right, and I love that, but it's like, but there's others. I'm coaching right now an agent who's growing out the widowed agent community, right? Because she was
Oh, that's a
widowed,
great
and it's like, but I, as much as I love agents and I love this agent, right? I don't get it, right? Like I don't fully get it. I don't know what's going on. I've never experienced that, and so to your point, like we need to have those joint experiences where
one.
someone can say, like, you really get how hard it is, right? Or I've coached a single mom before, right? Her husband left and she has 4 kids trying to build a business. Like, yes, I can teach you business principles. Yes, I care about what's going on with you. I'm going to try my best to do that. But what I really want you to do is go get coached by a single woman who is crushing it, who
Yep.
really gets it, right? There's just so much more to us than just being agents that we
Right.
need, and someone's got to go first. And I get that we're afraid of those things. Like I totally understand. I've helped agents, DJ, build. I was teaching at this pretty large brokerage one day, and I started talking about building affinity groups, right, to grow your business. And one of the biggest agents there was like, "Well, I'm just a mom, and I don't really do a lot of stuff."
Just
I
a
was like,
mom.
yeah, and I was like, "Well, first of all, I don't believe you, right?" And so I said, what are the things you love?" And she's like, "I don't want to tell you." And I was like, "Tell me." She said, "I love crime podcasts and I love wine." And I said,
Okay.
"Okay, hold on. How many women in here
Yeah,
listen to crime
millions and
podcasts?"
millions of people
And
do
so
that.
many,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why would you not just say, I'm going to start a group for any local mom who loves crime podcasts and wine, once a month, whatever, come hang
Yes.
out. We'll just have fun together. She did it. Guess what? Not only did she love it, her business grew because of it, because they want to work with people that are like them. Right.
Yeah.
And so when you're honest about who you are, they're like, why would they ever come to me if they're like, I love this lady, right? We go to her house, we listen to crime podcasts, we have wine together. That's fun. They get me. They're like me.
Yeah.
Everybody needs that, to your point. And so I think if we just stop being so afraid of, like, let me just be honest about some of the things about me, our business would grow, our enjoyment would grow, right? And then we'd be able to show up better for everybody else in our life because we were like, I actually like some, it's still hard, but I actually like part of my day, right? As opposed to grinding it out all the time. So there's a huge call to just be authentic. It's okay. It's good. There's other people just like you. And it's a good thing, right? Someone needs to go first. And so if you're brave enough to go first, it's going to change your life too and theirs. And, I just highly, highly encourage that.
And it opens up it opens up the ability for someone else maybe to say, I can step into my authenticity
Yes.
because that person did it. And it
100%.
really it's what they say about intimacy. It's that somebody has to be vulnerable and tell their hard truth to another person. And
Mhm.
what it does is it opens up the space for the other person to go, oh, it gives them permission to be
You're
like, oh,
right.
now I can tell you about all my hard things.
Yes, right,
And
100%.
it's really scary and it's hard because that person could hurt you with that information and they could run away or they could, that's the reality of relationships. But most people don't do that. They actually find it so endearing because they go, oh, I need somebody to talk to about things too.
Mm,
So you're talking about the same thing. And I think it's just what a great reminder for all of us listening
mm,
is don't hide who you are and you
yeah,
will find your tribe.
mm.
Let's talk about the new book.
Yeah,
So the breakthrough broker. Sorry, the
balance
balance
breaker. Oh, you're
breakthrough.
good.
Sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
I belong to I support a men's organization and we have what's called breakthrough weekends. And so I've got
Nice.
breakthrough in my mind in a totally different thing because for 20 years I've been just
It's
talking about
awesome.
breakthrough weekends. So
Yeah,
my
yeah.
apologies. The balance
Oh, you're good.
breakthrough is the book and it's
Yep,
coming out next week. Although by the
yep.
time you hear it, it'll be this week.
Mhm,
So it's available everywhere books are sold and
mhm.
online. And we'll have a link to the Amazon, in the show notes. But tell us about the book and who it's for.
Yeah, so thanks, DJ. So I wrote this book. It's 2 years in the making, right? And really, first and foremost, I wrote it hoping to restore the entrepreneur's family, right? Like I think of the kids of agents everywhere who are missing out on mommy and daddy time because the business is running them ragged. And so when I was coaching, that was my heart, right? For me, that was my heart. And so I'll just go quick breakdown, right? So part one of the book is all about redefining success on our own terms. So
Mhm.
I found for me, I was building a business, I had a big team, I was doing all these things. We had 3 kids. And then I realized like I had created this business that was crushing it, but it was taking me like 50, 60 hours a week. And so, would I actually be most proud of the guy who figured out how to work less and make the same amount of money and spend more time with my kids, or the guy who would double his business but work more and make more money but see his kids less? Like, that was a really obvious answer. And then I started to wonder, well, why was I even doing what I was doing? And I came up, so my whiteboard's literally to my left. I came upstairs, DJ, and I realized the only thing written on my whiteboard that I was measuring, number of deals, GCI, and volume, right? That was it. And so it's like, okay, no wonder I'm adding agents. No wonder I'm doing this. No wonder I'm doing that. Because the only way I think I can measure success is what the industry told me was success. How many
Right.
deals did you do, right? How much money did you make? So it's a call to us to reset and redefine what success actually looks like to me. And so now my scoreboard is, yeah, a profit goal, but a wife goal and a kid goal. So like
Yep.
kid goal is every 7th week off, right? And now I have a new way to keep score. It's as simple as someone recently asked me, how do you sell 30 homes a year? What would you tell that agent? And I said, honestly, I tell them that's a bad question because it's easy. Go work 120 hours a week and spend 100K. You'll figure it out, right? Like, I think what you mean is, right, which is where as agents we need to get to. I think what you mean is, how do I sell 30 homes this year, never miss a family dinner, right? And be able to coach my son's soccer team. Whatever
Yep.
that scenario is, you got to ask a better question, which
Yes.
really comes from what am I actually trying to achieve? So that's really part one, right? It just stems from, so again, when I lost my mom, you recognize, you look and you say, there's a date, a dash, and a date. And the dash was her entire life. And her headstone doesn't say French teacher. She wasn't a real estate agent, right? But it wouldn't say sold 100 houses, right? 5 million GCI, whatever. It wouldn't say those things. It would talk about her character, who
Yep.
she loved, who she spent time with. So if that's true, is that what we're building? Or are we just trying to make the industry happy? So that's part one. Part two is then trying to equip the agent to do that. So teaching what I call the PDA formula, right? Just because I wanted people to think of like, ooh, you're holding hands. That's gross, right? The public display of affection. But it's how do you build a predictable, dollar productive or profitable business that, guess what, aligns with who you are. And so
Yeah.
there's so much in there of, I want you to be, so my wife's best family friends, the Jensens, You'll appreciate this, DJ. The dad is 6'10". I'm
Wow.
5'6" 3/4. And when you're 5'6", the 3/4 matters, right? And so I remember visiting Mr. Jensen, and he was like, Garrett, I want to show you my sports memorabilia in my office. And like went in, super cool. What I remember though is Mr. Jensen works at a standing desk. I could walk back and forth under it without ducking, right? Like how are we the same human? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so if I spent, and this is where I fear most agents are, if I spent my time saying, why am I not tall like him? If I was tall
Right.
like him, I could have played basketball. I could have done this, could have done that, whatever. We spend so much time there as opposed to, I bet I would crush him in hide and seek. There's no way he's going to hide at 6'10", right? What
Right.
if I paid attention to what I'm uniquely gifted in and
Yep.
then went and tried to be excellent at that? So much is going to be better. So the PDA formula really centers around what is in alignment and then how do you turn that into a predictable, profitable business. And then finally, it's really about part 3 is the intentional achievement. So I teach what I call the rule of eights, which is around lead generation, the hierarchy of attention, right? So do we actually have written out who deserves the best of my attention? And then do I ask questions around that? So, the Lord, my wife, my kids, then my work. We often just say, oh, work has always got to jump up. No, it doesn't. Right. And so we're asking questions. Hey, did my wife get good, valuable attention from me this week? If not,
Yep.
how can I take the 5 to a 6 and just be paying attention to those things? Right. And then how do we intentionally go achieve that? So it's really my hope, right, is equipping the agent to say, why did you get into this industry in the first place? I was teaching this, DJ, last point on this. I was teaching this about a year ago. An agent comes up to me. She introduced herself as a solo agent and a mom. She said, Garrett, last year I sold 55 homes, best year ever. That's an amazing year. And she said, everyone's asking me, how many am I going to sell this year? So I say 60 or 70 because we're supposed to grow, right? She said, Garrett, after hearing you talk, it was roughly what was in the book. After hearing you talk, I'm going to intentionally sell only 30 homes and it's going to change my life. And I said, well, why? I wasn't trying to tell you to sell fewer homes. And she said, no. Garrett, I got into this industry because I wanted to pick up my daughter from school every day. Guess
Right.
what I've been too busy to do because I'm selling homes. I'm going to change. I'm going to sell 30 homes only. It's going to change my life and it's going to change her life. And so I think we got to reset to why did I get into this in the first place? And am I intentionally building in that direction? And my hope is to redefine success for agents and then equip them to actually go do that and restore the relationships they've honestly traded too often to achieve quote unquote success. Because I really believe we can have a bigger, better life if we understand how to do it the right way.
What I'm hearing is a lot of intentionality, is really
Mhm.
thinking about what if I could literally sit and design my ideal career, my ideal life, my
Mhm.
ideal balance with work life, which again I don't think there ever is a true balance, but
No.
the breakdown of how much time I spend, how much time I get to spend with my kids. If I could map that all out and I could say this would make me the happiest and this would be best for my family, and could is that first of all, is this reason, is it achievable, is it reasonable, is it in line with reality, and then okay, what do I need to do to make that happen? I think most people don't do that, right? I think we think maybe in terms of business goals, like you said, GCI, number of deals. We're not necessarily thinking how many games little league do I want to miss next year because I
Mhm.
have stuff going on in the evening because I'm a realtor and that's how it goes. Like maybe I do have to miss a few, but maybe I'm going to miss 5 out of
Mhm.
40 or whatever it might be,
Mhm.
or maybe I don't want to miss any, and that's important to me. But having to that figured out ahead of time, I'll tell you, this is something I didn't think to do this on my own. I read this. So I started doing it in my relationship with my fiance, where I realized, we come from different backgrounds, like
Yeah.
everybody does. And we would have different experiences around things like vacations and
Mhm.
holidays and, just in anything that we do together. I have to think this is a different human being with a
Mhm.
different set of beliefs, values, and goals, and maybe is going to want different needs around
Mhm.
this. So we're going to my parents' place for Thanksgiving. My parents are
Mhm.
lovely people, and they're also not my fiance's parents. So she will be less comfortable there than I would
Mhm.
be because I can hang out with my parents all day. It's no big deal. And I want to make sure that her experience there is a good one. So I
Yeah.
could just think from my perspective and go, oh, it's going to be easy. My parents are
Mhm.
nice. It's no big deal.
Mm,
And that might not be her experience. She might feel on edge, like I have to impress these people, even though she's been with them a long time. She
mm,
might feel more stress around that. So I need to ask her, hey, what do you want this weekend to look, or this week,
mm,
Thanksgiving to look like? What would meet your needs? How can I show up for you? And how can I make sure that you're comfortable? Because for me, I'm going to be easily comfortable because
mm,
that's where I grew up.
mhm,
But this idea of building that out and finding out what does that look like, and then thinking to myself too, what do I want that week to look like? Because,
mm,
I should have a plan for myself, as well. So we're really talking about just building things out and really thinking them through. And, if we do this, and this is the season to do it
mhm,
when things are a little slower, I think, is to really
mhm,
think about next year. What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? And putting that together, and it's not easy. It's hard, grueling work to figure that out. But once you figure it out, then you can just kind of work backwards from it and say, okay, well, these are the number of deals I want to do. These are the number of
mhm,
hours I want to spend with my kids. How am I going to keep myself accountable so that I am
mhm,
seeing my kids every day? Like, am I going to be checking in with my partner? Am I going to be, making sure that she's getting enough attention? Or
mm,
how am I going to be held accountable for these things? And it seems like you're a big fan of all of this, like this
yeah,
idea of, you're tracking it all. And I do the same thing. We track in my relationship, we track things like how many date nights do we have a
it's
week, and
awesome.
how many yeah, well, you have to, because
Mm.
sorry, I'm not telling other people to do that, but I have to,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I will get caught up in my own life, and I will, all of a sudden a week goes by and I don't love my fiance any less, but
mm,
I'm like, oh, I haven't planned anything. And it's not because I don't
mm,
like her. I just didn't think to do it because I'm
mhm. You're you're busy.
self-centered,
Yeah,
and
there's things
I'm
going
DJ.
on. Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, nope, that's not good for a relationship.
Mm,
So, I can just hope that, I'll remember to do things, or I could put it in my calendar that by
mm,
Wednesday of every week, we have a plan for Saturday night. It's like
mhm,
not that hard. And it makes her happy and it makes me happy. And it's a really smart play.
mm,
So what we're telling everybody who's listening here is, yes, be intentional about your business, but also be intentional about really brings you the most fulfillment in life, and
mm,
bake that in, because it is going to help you when times are tough, and business comes and goes. And certainly the market comes, changes, and it's not always easy and it's not always fun, but you can build in fulfillment. And if you know that playing with your children and being there for your spouse or your partner, if that's fulfilling to you, you better build that in
mm.
so that you have that guaranteed no matter what.
Yeah, that's right. It's so good. I mean, I think, and first, let me say, I am in no way perfect at this, right? Not even close. I'm in pursuit of this too, right? And so I think it's easy. Oh, well, you wrote a book about it. Well, I'm not great at this either, right? I'm trying to figure it out. But I think it is, are we going to live on purpose or on accident? And I started to realize, man, I was waking up, I was just doing stuff that everybody told me to do and thought everything's fine. And if I played that out for a long time, yeah, I might have had more money potentially, but I would have had fewer relationships and deep relationships with the people I actually cared about, right? Most of us get into it and say, for me, I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for my family. Well, what gets pushed aside first? The family does. Well, I'm doing it for you. Well, what if we want you to be at home? And so I think exactly what you said, DJ, you got to have those conversations. One pivotal conversation for me couple years ago before I wrote this book, but a couple years ago, I was just driven like, we're going to do this, we're going to build that. It's going to be amazing. We're going to earn all these things. And I finally stopped one day and just asked my wife, Rachel, I was like, babe, if it takes me longer to achieve this, but I'm home more often, is that what you want? And she's
Yeah.
like, absolutely. I'm like,
Yeah.
why did I never ask you that? Right. Like, I
Right.
just assumed this is what you wanted. And I
Yeah.
never asked you. And she said, it is what I want, but I want it to take longer because I need you home. And I'm like, I don't know why I didn't ask, right? We assume that this is
Yeah.
what I want. So it's clearly what she wants, right? Or it's what my kids want. Or what if I ask my kids, hey, do you feel like you get to see daddy often enough? Right now, yeah, you
Yeah.
got to go provide for your family. I
Yeah.
get that. But what if they're like, no, we don't see daddy enough? And instead, I look at it this way, DJ, is I have an ego account and I have a family account. I'm only going to put it into one. So
Right.
each decision, right? It's, hey, my family's taken care of, but I got to go sell this $1 million house. I'm not saying necessarily you can't do that, right? But what if your kid's sitting there like, Dad, you've missed my game every single game this year? What if you said to that client, hey, I can't come tonight? I got to put something in the family account, right? Or I have an appointment. You don't need to say family account, but I have an appointment already, whatever it is. I promise you that's going to matter more than the client saying, oh, yeah, tomorrow's fine. right? Or you miss out on that opportunity. Well, I'm 38. What is my table going to look like when I'm 60? Are my
Right.
kids back? Are they bringing their kids and their spouses? And are they hoping and having a great relationship with daddy and saying, Daddy, here's our kids. We're so excited to see you. They live near. They want to spend time with us, just like you with your parents, right? Or is
Yep.
it like dad was always on the phone? He's
Yeah.
on the phone again. He's doing the deals and like, whatever, we'll come, but we don't want to stay that long. What are you building and what are you paying attention to? It's easy to fall into the trap of do more, do more, do more, hustle, 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 24/7 availability. It's harder to say, that's not what I want. And I got to build a business based around the life I want. And then when I ask that question, right, how do I sell 30 homes and be at every soccer game and coach his little league team, whatever the question was, then and only then can I build the business the way I want to, the way I need to, that's going to serve my life too. And we just let it go. We're showing up on accident when we should be on purpose. And, we got to reclaim that.
Yeah, it's all about knowing yourself, knowing what you need, and then asking the people around you, how do I best show up for you? And how do we check in? Like you said, I love that, asking your kids the hard question. Am
Mm,
I doing enough for you right now? Do you see enough of me?
mm,
And that, boy, that's a question that is not an easy one to ask, because there will be times when you ask that question and you get an answer that you do not want to hear.
yeah.
And that's the most important time. There's a whole reason you're asking it is to get the truth.
Right.
And then
Right.
you have to take that punch to the face and go, okay, I need to make an adjustment because
Yep.
I am not meeting my child's need. And look, I mean, it is not easy being a parent and also
No.
working and doing everything else that everyone's expected to do everything these days and be perfect. And of
Mm,
course we're not. And boy, check in with the people in your life that you care about. Am I showing up enough for you? Am I giving you what you need? What can I do more to make, your existence a little bit better? I always say this with people who work at companies. My fiance is she's an attorney, and she's asking for a raise, and she feels that she has a good case to get a raise, and she has done a lot for the firm, and she's going to present her argument, which is what lawyers do. And she's got this all sort of mapped out, and she read it to me, and she wanted to be very intentional about it, to say, I'm not asking just to ask. I've created this much revenue, and I think I should, deserve a raise, commensurate with that. And it all makes sense. It's all logical. And I said, that's all great. I said, I would add one thing in. And it just didn't occur to her, because she was thinking about, I just need to make sure my argument makes sense.
mm,
I said, you need ask the person who owns the business, is her boss. I said, ask him what his biggest problems are.
mm,
What does he lie awake at night worried about? Because it's different from what you lie awake. Like, you're an employee. You're not worried about maybe the paying the bills, for the doing, meeting all the different demands of all the employees. Like, maybe there's, you don't know what his fears are. Ask him what those fears are in your meeting, and then ask him, how can I help you with those fears,
mm,
and what can I do to help make that easier for you? And I'm like, that's what people really want, is they want you
mm,
to know, where am I struggling, and can you help me with that? And
mm,
whether it's a client, whether it's, your son, or whether it's an employer, it's like, we all just want somebody to go, I see you struggling in this way, because everybody struggles, and I can help you with that.
mm,
And those are the people that we hold on to for life. Like,
mm,
those are the people that go, I know what you need, and I'm going to ask you what it is, and then I'm going to deliver that for you.
mm.
Those are friends, those are family, those are
Yeah.
people that, you hold on to. It's community. And I
Super.
think we need to be really, really diligent about asking that question as
Mm,
much as possible. And it's not an easy question to ask. And
mm,
oftentimes people don't know what they need. But
mm,
if you're persistent, it's what happens when somebody passes away. Everybody goes and they say something like, I'm here if you need me. And that's a lovely sentiment. And it's
sure.
better than saying nothing, for sure. But it's
Mm,
also kind of like, the person's not going to say, well, I need you to do this. Like,
yeah.
they're going to go, okay,
Right.
great. And that's going to
Yeah.
be the end of it. And I'm not saying that you need to do more than that. But if you wanted to do more than that, you might say, hey, I know you're struggling with this, the thing that happened. And I obviously, I can't imagine what that's like. But what part of your life right now is really most disrupted? And if
Mm,
it's like, oh, like making food is kind of a hassle because I'm
mm,
dealing with all this grief, like I can do that for you. Like I can take
mm,
care of that, you know.
mm,
And then all of a sudden you have something to work towards. And so I think that's, you know, you're doing that with your kids. Are you seeing enough of daddy? You know, that kind of thing is so critical. And again, I applaud you as a parent for
mm.
doing that. I don't think a lot of parents knew to do that. I don't think it was like they were like, screw the children, I'm not
Yeah,
going to do it. I just think
sure.
they didn't
Yep.
know to
Mm,
do it. And boy, they would have had a lot of, they would have had a lot of great feedback. And
mm.
but then you have to be willing to do the work,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah. Yeah. I love what you said. 2 quick thoughts is, so when my mom was in the hospital on her last days, right, I remember one of my dad's good friends, like you said, he didn't call up and say, "Hey, do you need anything? What do you need? How can I help?" He showed up at the
Yeah.
hospital with food, and he
Yeah.
called my dad and said, "Hey, I'm here. I brought you food. If you'd like to come eat, I'm here, right? If not, I'll go away." And I just thought, man, like, he just showed up. That's
That's
an
a good man
amazing
right
thing.
there. Yeah.
Right, when my mom passed away, he had friends that would show up and call at his house and say, "I'm here. I know you're alone. I'm outside, right? If you want me to come in, I'll happily come in. If not, I'll go away." And I just thought, man, I just want to be the guy that just shows up, right? To
Yeah.
your point that, like, I don't want to just ask the question just to make me feel better. I want to show
Right.
up and say, "I think you're probably alone. How can I help?" And so
Yeah.
I love that, right? Number one. Number two is, you're right. Everything is hard, right? It's hard to build a business, hard to be a parent, it's hard to be married, it's hard to be all the things. But it's also really hard to grow up and then not have a relationship with your kids. That's hard too, right? And so, like, all of it's going to be hard. You just we've heard it before. We got to choose the hard. And so, am I going to do the work now, right? Or is it going to be way harder later? I think it was Ramsey that said, "If you do what's hard now, life will be easy. If you do what's easy, life will be hard." And so, yeah, it's all hard. That's fine. Can we just acknowledge that building a business and all those things are hard? They are hard. Okay, well, if that's just true, then why am I surprised and why am I frustrated by it? But I want to show up how I want to show up, and I fail all the time. But when
Yeah.
my 6-year-old son, right, my oldest is 8, my youngest is 4 months, but when my 6-year-old son says, "Hey, daddy, can you come play Legos with me?" I need to not just say, "Oh, sorry, daddy's working." I need to actually say, sometimes that is true, but I need to say, "Oh, actually, buddy, I do have 10 minutes before my next meeting. Of course, let's play Legos."
Yeah.
And so there's pieces of that where we have to be honest. We need to not pretend like we're the busiest person in the world if we aren't, right? And then actually show up where we can show up. Do the best that you can with what you have where you are. And that's what a good life is going to look like.
Boy, you said it all. I couldn't agree with you more. TheBalanceBreakthrough.com is the website to go to learn about the new book. Again, The Balance Breakthrough is the book. You can pre-order it. You get the free audiobook with that, a lot of other free goodies as well. GarrettMaroon.com. You can also go and learn about all things Garrett. He has his podcast, which is the Faithful Agent podcast. And check that out. It is everywhere podcasts are served. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. And boy, Garrett, I am just so impressed with your authenticity, how you show up, how you showed up here, the energy that you put forth, and just what a fun conversation. And I know our audience got a lot out of this. So we want to actually thank our audience on behalf of Garrett and myself. Thank you for making it to the end of the show. On behalf of Garrett and myself, thank you. On behalf of the audience and myself, thank you to Garrett for taking time out of his busy life to share some of his what's important to him. And he was willing to do that. And we appreciate you. And I hopefully inspired other agents to live their authentic lives as well. And the new book is coming out, and we are really excited. The Balanced Breakthrough is the book. We can find that again. We'll in the show notes, and we'll have a link to it. Check it out, pick it up, and tell other people about the book. And also subscribe to the podcast again, Faithful Agent, and we will have links to both of those things. And thank you to our sponsors as well. We appreciate you. Best way that you can help us continue to grow is by telling a friend. Think of another agent that could benefit from this conversation, and I could pretty much any agent I think would benefit from this. So tell another agent about this show. We would appreciate it. It means a lot to us, helps us grow. And check out our sponsors. They're the reason we can keep doing this. We appreciate you checking them out as well. And Garrett, thank you so much. We will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Garrett.